She wants to be unburdened by the past, that's for sure,
I
right?
can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened.
I just can't believe
by
this.
What has been. What can.
I can't believe this woman is the vice president of the United States. Anyway, nobody wants her to actually be president. Take a look at the latest polls showing that in a matchup against Donald Trump, she does worse, even worse than Joe Biden. Imagine that. Well, I have a feeling she's going to be unburdened by what has been momentarily as soon as he steps down. Of course, this poll is not looking very good for her or for the Democrats. So then you say to yourself, what are they going to do? Who are they going to run? I mean, look at your opportunities. You get Gavin Newsom, who's made a train wreck out of California. California is turning into Venezuela before our eyes. You got Gretchen Whitmer, who's not exactly popular. She's the one that made sure you couldn't even go to your vacation house in the same state. Remember, during March of 2020, although her husband could pull his boat out of the water and, go all over the lake. Yeah, Gretchen Whitmer is being discussed. They've got Gavin Newsom, Gretchen, Kamala Harris. This is not a winning crowd, ladies and gentlemen, not a winning crowd. And then, of course, there's a lot of chatter about Michelle Obama, who right now, according to the deep, dark, secret polls of the Democrat Party, is the only one that could actually beat Donald Trump. I take issue with that. I don't think that it's a slam dunk. I think she'd be an interesting choice, but not a slam dunk. Meanwhile, how can you take it away from the woman who's the vice president, really? And you get all these representatives now. It was led first by Tim Ryan, but now Huffman out of California. He's calling for Kamala as well. Listen.
I don't think that's helpful. I think we've got to take a very sober look at the reality of the race as it currently stands. And it wasn't just one bad night. It was a bad night that may have locked in a really unfortunate narrative about President Biden's age and fitness. And that narrative could be very hard to undo. So we've just got to be honest about that. We're 4 months before the election, and the guy who's threatening our democracy, our fundamental rights, and the free world right now is winning. We got to fix that.
It may be hard to undo that narrative, but do you see a way for President Biden, perhaps through these interviews or standing in front of a crowd of reporters without a teleprompter answering questions, do you see a way for him to regain the confidence of your party and its voters?
Well, Boris, there's not a lot of time, and that narrative is, pretty established now. It wasn't just one debate, and so it's going to be very difficult for this president to undo it. And I will say this, my colleague Jim Clyburn said something very important. If President Biden decides that in the interests of defeating Donald Trump and saving this democracy and the free world from everything he represents, that he is ready to pass the torch, it needs to be, and I think should be, Vice President Harris at the top of the ticket. And I can imagine any number of really compelling people that could round out a winning ticket with Vice President Harris, a ticket that would bring all kinds of enthusiasm and excitement to this race and put us in a position to win it.
That is significant that you would support the vice president stepping in for President Biden should he decide to step aside.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So yeah, it's looking increasingly like Kamala might get the gig. Here's Tim Ryan saying some similar stuff.
Well, we all saw the debate on Thursday. I mean, you can't ignore it. You can't ask people to unsee what they saw.
No.
Not only did they watch it in real time, so many people have personal experiences with their parents, their grandparents. They know what the aging process looks like. And that person on the stage there was not capable of governing the United States of America, being in those difficult meetings, being in those difficult situations. And so I think we have to recognize that as quickly as possible, rip the Band-Aid off. We have a great vice president who has 3.5 years of seasoning in the highest levels of government. She would be a great campaigner, energize our base. So many of the different aspects of the Democratic coalition would be super excited about a Kamala Harris run. And we should get behind her and take the campaign to Donald Trump and get this country back where it needs to be.
Tim, have you heard her laugh? I mean, have you heard her laugh? Have you heard the word salad? It kind of makes you wonder, does it not? I brought this up the other day. It kind of makes you wonder if they're almost deliberately putting her out there and then showing all these polls one after another. And the more they put her out there, the more she's going to sink in those polls, proving that this lady cannot win, proving that she's more of a problem. I mean, you can think about this a couple of ways. One, you can have some of the supporters of Biden perhaps putting her out there, pushing her out there to prove, hey, you know what, you're better off with him because she's going to be even worse. Or you could actually have some Obama handlers behind the scene talking her up, because then they're going to say, well, we can't choose her either. So it's got to be Michelle, right? It's got to be Michelle because she's the only one who's going to deliver things for the Democrat Party. I got to say, that is really shameful because the woman has no experience. I mean, really and truly no experience. She was married to the president. There's another rumor circulating out there. This is unbelievable. That there's some kind of legal loophole that would enable former President Obama to run as Biden's VP. Now that's a good one, right? I mean, whoa. You think about that. I mean, basically, we're just looking increasingly like Russia. I do believe that Vladimir Putin put Medvedev in the seat for a while, right? Medvedev took over because of some technicalities. Medvedev was acting as president, even though Putin was controlling everything behind the scenes. Is that what we're going to do? I mean, we kind of think that Obama's been controlling things behind the scenes anyway for the last 3.5 years. So many similar team members, etc. So now we put him in as vice president to give everybody some reassurance that in case Joe goes, and Joe may, or at least they may decide to invoke that 25th Amendment sooner rather than later for him. Well, then you've got somebody keeping the seat warm who's already been president before. I mean, they're talking about this. So it's worth at least knowing what's going through their head. And then I guess the other option would be Michelle Obama. But I'll tell you, it can't be this lady.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
It just can't be.
What can be unburdened.
It can't be. If it is, we're all in trouble. Another reason why you got to think about your portfolio, you got to think about investing. Great news for you guys. We have a wonderful sponsor on this show, American Heart for Gold. Go to trishlovesgold.com for your opportunity to get up to $15,000 in free silver when you buy gold with them. So this is the offer. You can get it if you text my name, Trish, to 65532. Again, 65532. Just text my name, Trish, to 65532 to learn more. Up to $15,000 in free silver, everyone. And look, I mean, gold is on a tear. Like I said, I don't steer you wrong. I don't steer you wrong. I mean, gold has been on a tear. Now, I can't predict the price of gold, but I can predict this. We are probably in for more challenges as we go forward. I think, Mike O'Donnell, you were talking earlier about $35 trillion in debt. Look, this debt level is out of control for sure. And the longer this continues, the more something like gold is going to look more and more attractive to people. You look at even just countries around the globe, central banks everywhere are increasing their gold holdings, in part because they don't trust us the way they used to, in part because we're just continuing to rack up insane amounts of debt with the 35 trillion and counting. And so as a result, they're looking for some other way. And, Bitcoin I like, but it's not there yet. Oh my gosh. B, thank you for that very, very nice comment. Again, I'm looking at your comments in real time. And B is writing, Trish is gold. Thank you. That is very, very sweet. Well, just go to Trish Loves Gold, trishlovesgold.com today to get more information if you would, on how you can get this special offer from American Heart for Gold.